Good morning, I'm Stanley Pacion. I have a poem here called Mood Subjunctive, which is a re-edit of a poem that I had read once before. I just want to remind my listeners that in the upper right-hand corner in the dialog box, where it says more info, less info, you can press that little underline parentheses, and right there, it'll take you to the words to the poem, and also it can lead you to my website and directly again to the same poem, maybe in a little bit easier format to read the words to it. With that said, mood subjunctive. Don't get me wrong. Should I appear distracted, look knocked out by the light, you make a very strong performance. A singularity round whose axis my mind spins. I remember once years ago, when I landed in New York after living a year and a half in Europe, how the neon of America seemed so awesomely garish and bright, yet when I close my eyes and picture it, all seems pale before the radiance of your face. Two people may meet for morning breakfast, look out the cafe's window at the steady rain, walk here and there along the avenues of inviting storefronts, and before the day is over, fall into hopeless passion one for the other as though there be something in the air, perhaps some electromagnetic charge, so the occasional electricity might overwhelm us. Or Cupid steals behind the fixtures of thoroughfares. That day I spied him couched near a mailbox when we began to walk Main Street in Point Pleasant. The winged child pulls from his quiver arrows, they drip wet with potion. Once he aims and shoots them, grievously they tear mortal flesh, making for ruckus extraordinaire. And expectations suddenly become great. This romance now so hard upon me, this love I must ardently profess, is, if you please, couched subjunctive. A mood, a grammar, I use so to temper my overwrought affection and quiet the immodest verse in elevated parlance. It provides relief for prophetic mantle I assume, the all too far out attitude, the conceit whose command animates this verse. Were I not to employ this principle of language, one might believe that my love for you be shameless. Understand, I solely express my own wish and desire. All I say remains contingent, of a mind still hypothetical and dependent. I do not use the imperative. I make no demand. I have no special outcome in mind. I live in a fortress called Zion, and come from it in the pilgrim's coat and hat. I look in the mirror and see their collar and tie, and, like those passengers on board the Mayflower, I know the Lord to be my helper. I fear not. Who among your former friends has ever said it better? And where you live, to live a long and hearty life, as all actuaries predict, what future friend might ever say it better? And should you for a moment consider this lyric arrive transcending everyday concern that adjoins sentiment's supreme hem, the real pilot, when we drove in the white Ford van and crossed Jersey's North Shore highways, while the brown, oh, that magic, gentle, dreamlike, living, pale, ethereal, and somewhat golden light accented the downpours whose constant, unleashed falling seemed more like the storm the Lord had promised Noah than any explicable temporary weather. Wie es eigentlich gewesen war, the carriage held but just us and immortality. And since we drove around together, and though it is months ago, it feels shorter than the day I first surmised the engine mounts were tied to point, and we two were belted, hurled straight ahead in covenant with eternity. Thank you very much. That was a poem called Mood Subjunctive. I trust you enjoyed it. I'm Stanley Pacion. Good morning.